Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 650 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our 9th book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there's nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I've been thinking about some of the recent research from Cornell University, which shows us that we will be happier people if we do more community service. And that got me thinking about how we can get more kindness into the fraternity and sorority community on college campuses all across the country. To explore that idea a little bit further, let's talk to our next guest. Stephen Kelly is a speaker and an author. He is a filmmaker and a former high school teacher of public speaking, theater arts, and religion. He also coached wrestling, basketball, and baseball. And Steve recently wrote his first children's book. It's called Butterflied. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey, Dr. Mike, good to see you.
Hey, it's great to have you on the show. I think it's a really important message that you're talking about today. So I'm glad to have you and talk a little bit more about it on a college level. Now, you've been a teacher, a coach, a filmmaker. Now you're an author. What made kindness your core message?
Good question. I was taking a seminar, and this is at the same time I was actually in pre-production for the first feature film. The point of the seminar was to create a project that would benefit at least 20 people. So it was 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 12 hours a day, and your head's full of, you're all excited, like what project am I going to create? And you create a team, a whole, you got your team, your go-to people. Who do I need? What do I need? Where do I need to be? And so I go to bed at the end of the third night, and I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I just got up out of bed, went to my computer, and typed out this book. And I went back to bed, and I sort of channeled it. I wasn't setting out to write a kid's book about kindness. It just came from this seminar. And I got up in the morning and I mentioned it to my girlfriend. She goes, "You did what?" I go, "Yeah, I think I wrote a kid's book last night." And then the more I researched it, I didn't research and then write the book. I wrote the book and then I looked into all these things about kindness. So that's how the book came about.
Wow. Very cool. I love it. I mean, hey, sometimes you're just inspired and you got to capture that. That's often why I have a little notepad that I put next to my bed. That way, just in case I do have any thoughts in the middle of the night, I can jot them down before they escape me.
Oh, yeah.
So
I learned the hard way. I would wake up in the middle of the night with this great idea. And it's like, this is so good. I'm never going to forget it. In the morning, what? What was that?
It's gone.
Yeah, I have to have a notebook. Forget it. Yeah.
Now, you're a former high school teacher, you're a high school coach. What patterns did you see in some of those students that you had at the school when it came to self-esteem and how they treated one another?
Yeah, you can see it. You can see the kids who have high self-esteem are friendlier and they're more outgoing. They have a confidence about them. And it's those kids that invite the kid who's not included. It's those ones who say, "Hey, why don't you sit with us?" Or, there's a gathering tonight. Why don't you come join us? When normally that person was not included. So the higher their self-esteem, the more they're spreading kindness, and they may not be aware. They're not sitting there thinking, "I'm going to be kind because I have high self-esteem." They're just doing it.
Yeah. I was looking at your one sheet, and right at the top, it says kindness is more powerful than a tornado. That's pretty powerful. I'm wondering, what does that mean in real life situations, maybe on a college campus?
Yeah, sure. So a tornado generally tears things down. Tornado doesn't come by and all of a sudden you have a new deck outside. or rose bushes are growing. A tornado takes things down. Kindness builds us up. And it's not always easy to include the person who's not included. It actually takes a lot of strength to do that. You're disrupting the regular level of things. Like this is this group, this is this group, just let it be. And to invite somebody in, there's a little balance thing going on, but it works. You'll see that it works. So it's tougher to build up than to tear down. You can see it in groups, you know, uh, if somebody starts gossiping about somebody, it's really easy to jump in on that bandwagon. But it takes courage to stand up and say, hey, wait a second. We don't even know this person. We don't know if it's true. It takes courage to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in your own life where kindness completely changed your direction?
Yeah, I was ready to leave. My first year of college, I was ready to leave. I didn't know anybody. So I came from a high school, about 250 graduates. And you go to school 4 years with these people, you know a lot of them. And I went to college. I didn't know a soul and was lonely as heck. And I was like, this stinks. This is horrible. You go to class and you come back and this is for the birds. I was getting ready to transfer. This was just the first week. I was like, I'm going back home, going to go to my community college, and then I'm going to transfer to a school where some of my friends are. And I'm sitting in my dorm room and the door's open and you're just hoping that somebody invites you to do something. And I wasn't going to be that person. I was the person sitting inside, bemoaning my existence. Like, woe is me. And this guy comes walking down the hallway in the dorm and he says, hey, I'm Bob. Why don't you come down to there's some guys gathering at somebody's room at the end of the hallway. So I went down there, met some people. I'm still friends with Bob to this day. This was a long time ago. And I'm still good friends with one of the guys in that room. It was his room, but that's how we met. And here I'm getting ready to leave. And now I have these lifelong friendships because of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar situation for me with the fraternity. So certainly I'm glad that I had those guys. Yeah, and we all need that love and belonging. It's Maslow's hierarchy. We really
Yeah.
need that in order to be successful. And, talking about that, I mean, let's talk about that science. What actually happens in the brain when we perform some act of kindness?
Yeah. Yeah. This is, we feel good when we do it. And you could write that off. But the reason why we feel good is because the brain releases dopamine. That's the feel good neurotransmitter. So the person doing the deed and the person receiving the deed gets this hit of dopamine. It feels good. And there's the science, that's the science behind it. It's also great for our heart because it releases, the body releases oxytocin, and that is associated with connection with others. Well, that's still in the brain, but it widens up our arteries, literally. So the blood flow is easier. It reduces stress. It reduces anxiety. Like all these benefits are simply being kind. It's like that's why we
Man,
feel good when we do something nice or we're the recipient.
man, that is awesome. Really good to know that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think about is there are some students out there that think that kindness is kind of a soft thing. What would you say to fraternity men who believe that toughness is actually more important than compassion?
Yeah. You got to take a look at what's behind that toughness. And a lot of times it's an insecurity, it's a fear that we're feeling inside. And what we do to cover that up is we play the tough guy, and it's easy for that person to just look around and see who can I pick on and definitely win this, either put down or if it gets physical. And that's nothing but fear, and it's the easy way out. uh, have that person say, hi, why don't you come join us? That's going to be tougher for that person, you know? And just take a look. If we feel like picking on somebody, take a look inside and say, what's bothering me right now? The only time anybody ever picks on somebody, says something bad, does something mean, is because that person's feeling bad. You're not in a great mood running around picking on people. No,
Right.
nobody in a good mood and does that. It's when we're upset with ourselves
For
that we
sure.
do that.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you think that kindness could actually improve things like academic performance and confidence? And if so, how?
Yeah, sure. So these acts of kindness, it creates an environment of success. We feel safe, uh, and when we feel safe and we're being treated kindly, we're not worried about how do I look, do I fit in, all that kind of business, and our blood pressure is low, we're feeling good. Now we can focus on the task at hand. You can't study if you think that someone's going to beat you up after class. You can't study if you sitting there having this conversation in your head saying, I have no friends whatsoever. Because we're all worried. You mentioned Maslow's hierarchy. We have food, clothing, shelter. Okay. And then it's this, social, you know, the,
Safety.
the, are we accepted? Do we feel safe? And once we have those things, now we can get on with it. Now we can focus on our studies.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, Maslow kind of discovered that, and you're absolutely right. We can't achieve full potential in life unless we have those building blocks down below firmly in place,
Yeah.
including love and belonging. That's a really critical one.
Yeah.
Safety, food, shelter, rest, all of those things. The other thing that I was wondering too, because when we look at fraternities and sororities, I think they do a ton of good work, and I am a very big proponent of the fraternity and sorority system, mostly because it does give you that love and belonging that students need in order to be successful. But they're also doing community service work, they're doing philanthropy work, doing some
Yeah.
really amazing work in the community. But we do sometimes, on occasion, we'll read about stories of hazing. We'll read about exclusion or gossip or even power struggles. I'm just wondering, what's really happening psychologically in these moments where we're seeing student organizations and these things are happening.
Yeah. I think that's also fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back to Maslow's hierarchy, so we have the food, clothing, shelter, and then you have the community. And do we feel safe and secure? A wild animal, take a raccoon, for example. A raccoon won't bother you unless you bother it. So if we feel threatened, then we lash out. And I agree with you that a lot of the fraternities and sororities do a lot of great work. I was in a fraternity at LaSalle, and it was a service fraternity. We
Mm-hmm.
raised a lot of money for underprivileged kids. We had walks, drives, you name it. And they're still doing it. They're just a bunch of terrific guys. And, sometimes it takes being part of a group and feeling good about yourself to not participate in hazing and doing things like that. And yeah, I think we've covered it, but feeling good about yourself, you don't haze.
Yeah,
You don't need to look like the tough guy or the tough girl or something like that when you have a sense of belonging.
yeah, yeah. Really good perspective. I like that a lot. Now, let's talk about some practical things that fraternity, sorority members, college students can do in order to make someone's day on campus. What do you suggest?
Well, we could start with the very basics, holding a door, saying hello. I remember I used to be, before I joined, if I would see a bunch of, guys walking up with their jackets, you know, and yeah, it's like they're a part of some club. You're not a part of a club. And like, do they automatically not like you? Like, because you're not, wearing that jacket. Uh, and then all of a sudden, they say hi. It's like all of a sudden, like you're feeling like, oh, they're not because we all have this image. We see something and we make a judgment call. No matter
Yeah.
what we think, we all judge, you know. If I could hold up this picture of this person, under a bridge, this person in a fancy car, we make a judgment, you know. And uh, we do that on campus all the time, and it's funny to see when the stereotypes are broken, and they're often broken by these small acts of kindness. A hello, hey, we're having this tonight. Why don't you come on? Stop by. Inviting people to do things. Yeah, and these are really simple.
Right.
And you know, I wouldn't expect anybody. On campus, we're concerned with how we doing, how we look, and how my grades. Those things. Don't expect anybody to go out and start building houses. That's for later. But to be concerned with what we're concerned with on campus and do the best we can. And a lot of times it's really simple. Like saying hello, inviting somebody somewhere. Uh,
Yeah.
I remember somebody in my when I was in school would be getting like the top grade on an exam, and somebody would get the lowest grade in the class, and he would go up and say, "Hey, do you want tutoring for the next exam?" Simple, things like that.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, if your student organization has a bunch of, men in it that are really good at calculus, as an example, there's
Okay.
plenty of students that are struggling with calculus on a college campus. So yeah, just take out a flyer and just say, hey, are you struggling with calculus? If so, give us a call and we'd be happy to meet up at the library and help you out.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
it's
That's a great
those,
idea.
yeah, those small little things of kindness that really doesn't cost you anything, but it's a sure way to build community. And also, I was actually talking at my alma mater at the University of Buffalo last night, and that was my advice to a lot of the students that were struggling in terms of membership. I said, there's a lot of students that are just sitting by themselves because I
Yeah.
walked through the student union yesterday afternoon, and I saw a bunch of students just sitting by themselves, and I'm like, how easy is this? I mean, really, just sit
Oh,
down
yeah.
next to them and
Yeah.
start a conversation. And some of your best members will be those introverts, will be those students that are maybe not just like you. And that's okay. Like, they will be some of your best members and your hardest workers. So I would just encourage students to really reach out to students that are different from you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you'll have a better organization that way.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
really is. The other thing I wanted to talk about too, I mean, we just talked about showing kindness to other people that might be by themselves, introducing yourself, saying hello, etc. But I also think that kindness starts with yourself. I know that's something that you believe in. What does self-kindness look like for a stressed out college student?
Yeah. Uh, I think it begins with the basics. When I say basics, what I mean is, are you getting enough sleep? Are you eating right? And are you getting some exercise? So physically taking care of yourself. And this next one, um, how do you talk to yourself? Do you say you're getting better, you're kind, or do you say I'm a piece of junk? It makes a huge, huge difference. Like, how would you, I throw this out there for some of the kids. How would you treat your little brother or sister? And if you don't have a little brother or sister, like just imagine some little kid, you know? Uh, what sort of talk to them do you think would be beneficial? Like, and talk to yourself that way. Say,
Yeah,
and mention all your attributes, all the good things. And if you mess up, and who doesn't mess up, say, acknowledge it, and I'll do better next time. But I think internal dialogue and how we treat ourselves is a big deal.
yeah. I definitely agree with all of those things. I think, working out for me at the gym, my big brother in the fraternity, he was the one that kind of introduced me to working out at the gym. I didn't know much about working out or physical fitness, to be quite honest with you, coming
Right.
into college. But he sure gave me some good lessons that I still use to this day. And I think that was a really big part of my own mental health in college when I was stressed out. It was great to just be able to go to the gym and work out for an hour with him, and I just felt so much better.
Oh, yeah.
And to this day, I still do that every morning, and it's just a great way to start the day, and just get into a good mindset
Yeah.
in terms of what we need to get accomplished for the day ahead. So definitely agree with all of those things. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right. So if our listeners, if they want to connect with you, and maybe get some copies of your new book. I know the new children's book is called Butterflied.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to pick up some of these books for their friends, their family.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a little brother or sister that would really enjoy it. Where should they go those books and connect with you?
On Amazon, it's called Butterflied, Flied. A lot of people look at Butterfly, it's 10,000, Butterfly books, and Stephen Kelly, and it'll pop right up.
Fantastic. All right. So go on to Amazon, just look up Steve Kelly, and the name of the book is Butterflied,
Yeah.
Butterflied. That way you can differentiate from all the other singular butterfly books that are
Right.
out there.
Right.
Probably several million, I would imagine.
It's hysterical. Yeah, it is. It's funny. And
Yeah,
it's also everyone calls me Steve, but for the book it's Stephen with a PH,
got it.
so yeah.
All right, very good. So
So,
just look Stephen Kelly, Stephen, Kelly spelled Kelly. So make sure you go and pick up his book today. And Steve, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate the time.
Dr. Mike, thank you so much. All the
You
best.
got it. All right. And to our college student listeners, if you learned something today from Steve Kelly, please share this episode with your chapter. Just drop it in a group chat so that way they can go and listen to it. Or maybe just share it on social media because you really never know which continent needs to hear this message of kindness today. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.
Okay.